path of competing and building for the future. Here's who they added. DeAndre Ayton, who the Blazers bought out and they lost, most notably Dorian Finney-Smith, who you correctly mentioned. Luka loves. And luckily they re-signed one-time Wildes fave and then show fave Jackson Hayes.
He's never been show fave,
You guys did long stuff.
No, we did not, bro.
Jackson Hayes. What grade are you giving the Lakers offseason?
I'm doing grades.
We didn't really plan. We're in a 3 hour. We're in hour 2.5.
Buddy,
are we doing grades?
We're not doing grades. If you'd like it, I'd give the Lakers offseason a C-.
C-.
I do want to give them credit for paying $5 million to move up from the 55th pick to the 36th pick. Sincerely, I mean that. I'm not being a smartass when I say that. Like, I like when teams just be like, hey, we want a better second-round pick, and some of these other teams will just sell them. So why don't we buy it? So I give them credit for that. I also think, even though I am a long time and still DeAndre Ayton skeptic, at $8 million a year, he's worth a flyer. Like, I don't think he's going to be... I understand he has been damaging in locker rooms in the past, reportedly. I'm not as worried about that. And I think that because they missed out on some better options, they don't seem... I mean, Rob Pelinka does not really seem able to pull off any type of trade that doesn't involve Nico Harrison calling him in the middle of the night and being like, hey, what do you want, Luka? Just don't tell anybody.
He made the biggest trade, one of the biggest trades in NBA.
He was on the receiving end of one of the biggest gifts in NBA history. You know what? I've thought about that a lot. I disagree. So I don't like 2-track timelines. I didn't like when the Warriors were doing it with Steph. Now, they ended up winning a title, but I think it was just... No, here's why I don't think it's... They won a title despite it, not because of it. They didn't win a title because James Wiseman and Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga... it's like, oh, look what we turned into. They won a title despite that. And I also, if I were the Lakers, they have to be very certain Luka's signing the extension to alienate Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, that's that was Luka's dear friend with Dallas. When he got to LA, he talked about how great it was that he was already there.
You're right.
You know what I mean? And by the way, he's a guy that fits with Luka and does a lot of the stuff they need. So from basketball and personal perspective, so all that stuff I don't love. And listen, it seems like the Lakers, might want to be out of the LeBron James business because, I don't know, I guess they think they're going to replace him with one of the 5 people who finished higher than him in MVP voting last year. And in that case, I wouldn't mind it if LeBron James got out of the Laker business. And I think that's on the board, but unlikely. And so I'll say a C-.
Okay, good C-. Moving on to the Bucks. Giannis. A lot of noise, but Giannis didn't really say anything about leaving. Nevertheless, they added Miles Turner. They added Gary Harris. They waived Dame and stretched his contract over how many years?
5. 5 years.
Brook Lopez goes to the Clippers. Pat Connaughton gone. But they did re-sign Bobby Portis on a deal. Prince and Trent Jr.
And Gary Trent Jr. contract's a steal. I think he's a better player than a minimum.
So those are good deals. We're grading this one 1 to 100. 100 being I absolutely love it. 1 being you hate it.
So I don't have a grade for this.
Not a grade.
I'm
1
just
through 100.
By it. You want? I don't have a number for you because I find this.
I will give the number at the end of your take. I will give you your number.
Okay, no problem. I can't remember a team doing this much for its superstar. And that in this chronology, like they move all their chips in to trade for Drew Holiday. And they win a championship.
Works.
And A+ all around. They then re-sign their aging team to defend that championship.
Which I also like.
Me too. Re-signed Brook Lopez. They signed Middleton long-term. They give Drew, I think, extra years. They do all those things. They might not have because the Celtics did, but whatever. They lock everybody up. They didn't realize, they get a little unlucky with injuries. Seems a little stuck. There's a little Giannis unease, a little bit of unease surrounding Giannis.
Yeah, remember they were giving him pens to sign his extension.
So they trade for Dame.
Love it again.
And then, and we all said, well, they should be the favorites in the East at the very least. That then is going poorly. They change coaches, again, seemingly because they thought Giannis would like it. They then trade Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma just because they're like, maybe that's a warm body that can help us this playoff run. Again, for at not the behest of Giannis, but because they just desperately don't want to ever get the Giannis wants to be traded phone call. And then they do something none of us thought was possible, which is create cap space out of thin air by waiving and stretching Damian Lillard to sign Miles Turner, again, just because they desperately don't want Giannis to ever say, I want to leave. And I respect it even if I think it's reckless. And so I don't know that it's smart for them long term, but I don't think they are thinking long term. I think they're just thinking, we want Giannis to stay here.
Yeah, that's right.
And we want Giannis to stay here forever. And even if we are now making moves that make it harder for us to ever be able to build a true contender, we don't care as long as Giannis is on the team.
That's what I like.
Yeah, figured you would like this one.
You know what it's like? It's like you ever watch a romantic comedy?
Sure.
Why are you guys laughing?
It's just 'cause your delivery is hilarious. Go ahead.
You watch a romantic comedy, there's a scene about the end of Act 2 where they break up, and then someone has to go and be like, don't you want to fight for the relationship? You're willing to walk away? Like Sarah Jessica Parker and Mr. Big. They're fighting for the relationship. Is it going to work out? Probably not. But they're fighting for it. Buy a dog. You give it an 87.
Oh, I did not.
Just
give
out
it
of
an
respect.
87.
Nuggets 2025.
Is the most contemporary romantic comedy you could think of Sex in the City?
No, but there was recently an article about the real life Mr. Big who used to work at Vanity Fair, and he moved to a farm in New Hampshire and he loves it.
Okay.
Nuggets 2025 offseason. Valanciunas, who may or may not play. These are not in alphabetical order. Bruce Brown is back on the team, which I always like. Cam Johnson, scorer, shoots threes, coming over from the Nets. Tim Hardaway Jr. reinvented himself as a marksman.
So I do like this, but I do have a question before I give my full thoughts. Do you think Cam Johnson is better than Michael Porter Jr.?
Yes.
So you do think he's a better player?
I think he's a more dynamic scorer, and I am also influenced by the one singular time I saw Michael Porter Jr. in person, where he came off far less athletic in person than I realized on TV. I know that sounds weird, but there's stuff that I was expecting him to do. I'm like, oh, he just looks more limited. And maybe I was prejudiced because I know his injury history.
No, I think that probably impacted it.
He looks a little bit like the Luka. Oh, what? No, everything they're worried about Luka, like they see more injuries coming down the track. It feels like he got a championship. He got injured this year. He fought through it. He deserves a lot of credit for that. But he's on the back nine of his career, right?
Back nine of his, from Michael Porter Jr., that feels harsh given his age. But
age and health? I don't know. Maybe that's unfair.
I think back nine is probably too much. I think the worst thing about Michael Porter Jr. is his contract. And so I think that Cam Johnson is definitely a better value because he makes so much less money. Is he a better player? I'm not sure. Is he a better fit? Maybe, because he is a better defender for sure. And if the belief is, man, Jokic is going to create a floor for our offense this high anyway, we need more defenders. I just like that they have more guys that you feel like can play 6 minutes in a playoff game than they had before. Because by the end of that round 2 series, they had so few guys they trusted that they needed Aaron Gordon on a torn hamstring and Michael Porter Jr. in a shoulder harness just to be able to get through that series. So I think you could argue that they've had one of the 2 or 3 best off seasons of any team in the league. And in a spot where we didn't think they were going to have a lot of flexibility. Now, the answer for a lot of these teams is, if you think you don't have a move, try to get one of the bad GMs on the phone. And they were able to, luckily Sean Marks hadn't blocked their number, so they were able to get that.
So love it, like it, or leave it. You're going to go love it? I'm going love it.
Love it, yeah.
2 love it's. Wow, the rare 2 love it's in our segment, love it, like it, or leave it. Rockets 2025 offseason, the big move. Durant, who was on the Rockets, and then all of a sudden NBA media was like, by the way, this trade's not done yet. I said, what? We already talked about it last week. No, now it's a 7-team trade. Have at it. Clint Capella, love it. Unfortunately, Dylan Brooks, add a little spark to the team. Jalen Green gone, Cam Whitmore gone. Adams, Fred VanVleet, and Jabari Smith re-signed. So it's time for our segment. We did grade, we did score, we did like it, love it, leave it. Now it's cash it or trash it. No, usually right.
No, I obviously love this offseason. I don't understand why they got rid of Cam Whitmore. I think he was worth more than 2 second-round picks. Now, the answer might be not enough minutes. Now, but the Capella, I like it for a lot of reasons. One is, I think they can win the West. The other is, I am valuing Kevin Durant at the level of, okay, is he peak Kevin Durant? No. Is he still awesome? Yes. It's why so much of the conversation surrounding what's LeBron James worth at this point is so mind-boggling to me, because he was better than Kevin Durant last year. I expect him to be better than Kevin Durant this next year, and I thought giving up a 20-point-per-game scorer in Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the 10th overall pick, which turned into Malawach, was a great deal for the Rockets, because they added Kevin Durant. I also like the Clint Capella signing is interesting. Can I tell you why?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
So it seems unnecessary. Şengün's your center, and you have Steven Adams.
Yeah.
And you just gave him money. Is the Clint Capella signing because, hey, another good player? Or is it, well, if at some point, we have to include Şengün in a trade for Giannis, we are going to need another center. And that they have almost too much depth because they think they might be doing a 4-for-1 trade at some point down the road. That to me is
certainly interesting.
Is certainly on the board of possibilities. The Fred VanVleet contract allows that to happen.
Okay. That's interesting. The other idea is that Ime loves defense. Şengün's defense has gotten better, but not really where it needs to be, and Adams is available half the time.
Okay, well, yeah. Signing Clint Capella because Steven Adams isn't that reliable doesn't, to me, jive exactly with giving Steven Adams a contract extension. And again, I think Clint Capella is a good signing. And by the way, he started his career with the Rockets. Now he's back with the Rockets. That's always cool. But I love their offseason, is the short version. I love their offseason.
Finally, unfortunately, we are not going to get to all 30 teams. We are going to do an extra episode of Hold 'em or Fold 'em after the show on the podcast exclusively. Knicks offseason. Have a new coach. Mike Brown. Also added Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele, and the 51st pick. Hold 'em or fold 'em on the Knicks offseason.
I like the offseason. I think Yabusele gives you, maybe 8 minutes a game in the playoffs, which is fine. That might be too high. But
he has big games. He has big moments.
Yeah, and he adds toughness.
Yep.
Clarkson is just a better version of campaign, where it's I can't really trust you and you're not good at defense, but you might score 12 points in a 4-minute stretch, and that can be helpful. And remember how I said I thought they wanted to hire Jason Kidd because it could be bait for
Giannis.
Yep.
This is a good one.
Who did Mike Brown go to the finals with? It was LeBron. So I just find that interesting. And I think Mike Brown is a obviously very different coach than Tibbs, but he is while Tibbs' team's offenses were actually better than people thought. But it's, Brew had his complaints is maybe the wrong, criticisms about the heliocentricity of him. He was known as defensive coach. Mike Brown, more known for what he can do in the offensive end. So I'm excited to see what that can look like. But the Knicks, as presently constituted, should be the favorites in the East. And if this is LeBron James bait, it's even better.